Hey, eager to see some of the new power stock I picked up while in Germany? Well, so am I. Come back after the titles and we'll take a look together. Hey everybody, Anthony Dodge, the model train outsider, the Märklin outsider here, and some of you may know I just got back from a month long in Germany where my wife and I had an extended vacation and also did a lot of train related shopping and touring all the famous exhibition layouts like Miniature Wonderland and the Märklinaeum down in Göppingen and Porsche's Traumwerk in Anger, Germany. And so finally I've got some time. I want to take a look at a couple of the locomotives I bought. So in this video we're going to take a look at this one. This is a model I found at a shop in Salzburg, Austria that I had been looking for. And it is a class 218 in the ocean blue and beige coloring. This is an older model. I believe it came out in 2014, so it's 9 years old. And it was, I believe, one of the first years that the MFX Plus decoder started to come out, because I do believe this says it had an MXF Plus on it. But either way, we'll get it loaded in and see what happens. But yeah, I've been looking for this one for a while because we've seen a lot of 218s in double consist. Always one red one and one ocean blue and beige. So this is model number 37768. It's an Era 4 locomotive, but they're still in use today. So let's get it on the track and take a look at it. All right, so here it is on the track. One of the classic workhorses of Deutsche Bahn. This is the 218. You see it to this day pulling intercity trains, ECs. I've seen it pulling Swiss, German, and Austrian freight at times, usually in double consist. And what's interesting to me is whenever Joyce and I have seen the 218s in double consist, it's always one red one and one ocean blue and beige one. So this is a classic. Anybody who follows German trains of, say, post-war era, especially 70s and 80s, they all would recognize this and its relatives, the 215, the 216, the 200, the 220. They're all variations of a theme, I think stemming back from the 160, but somebody can correct me on that. So the classic ocean blue and beige livery, and you still see it today, as I said. This is about a 10-year-old model. So I did open it up a bit just to make sure. There's some signs that this may have been at least test run a bit. That this was not a model that's been sitting on the shelf for 10 years unused. There's some evidence that it probably was never owned but taken out and test run a couple of times, maybe just to make sure it's still running after sitting on the shelf. But definitely a classic. So let's pop it on with the lights. I got it for a very good price, so I'm very happy with it. Definitely got it for a discount, so I'm happy with the price I paid for it. It comes in at 455 grams, so that is kind of a middle of the road. I've got quite a few locos that are in the 470 to 500 plus gram range, and then I've got many that are just around 400. So this is kind of right in the middle of the range of my locos. So we'll see if that's a factor when it pulls stock or even goes uphill. But that's usually the quality of the motor, not the size of the locomotive. So it has quite a few functions. It's not the new 28, 32, 36 function locos you're seeing. It definitely has its directional lighting. And it does have a few sound effects. But a good diesel sound. Maybe a little quiet, but that's not a bad thing down here in my basement. And I could always adjust the volume up if I wanted it louder. Some of the sound effects, of course, only go into effect when it's running. So, as usual, what I'm going to do is go ahead and run this in. And then we'll come back and take a look at it and see how it handles going around its first couple of loops on my layout. We'll be back. Okay, so he's been run in and put on the main loop now. It has not tried the ramp before. The run-in went smoothly. Started off with a little bit of a squeal in the motor, but it did disappear. And I did lubricate the motor just a little bit, expecting there to be a little bit of that. So let's go ahead and give this new Märklin 218, although technically it's not new, it's 9 years old. Let's go ahead and get it in motion and run it around and see how it goes. All right, so here he's coming up the long stretch. His first attempt at 60 kilometers per hour scale. Up the ramp. And no noticeable hesitation at 60 kilometers an hour. That's pretty good. Actually, that's real good. I did not notice any hesitation on it. So as he goes through Delmenhorst Station, we're going to speed him up a bit. Let's put him up to 80. Obviously, no hesitation at 60. I assume at 80, he'll be fine. So that was his first loop, and now straight into his second. And he starts up the incline right about there. And absolutely no hesitation, which if you handled it at 60, definitely going to handle it at 80. Nice and smooth. Okay, so what are my first impressions of this 9-year-old Märklin 218? Very strong. The paint scheme, the coloring on it looks fine. I wouldn't say it's massively super detailed, but very well detailed. It is an older model in terms of from a different era than I'm used to, where it wouldn't have a lot of the newer high-tech and heavy-duty small detail stuff on it. But it is a 2013, 2014 molding and release. And that was right about the time when Märklin really had a massive upgrade in their quality. After years of going down, the Simba Dickey Corporation took it over, and Florian Siebert, the son of the executive president of the Simba Dickey Group, Florian was the young son, and he took over, and he just went on a massive campaign in the late 2000s into the early 2000 teens, and really kind of cracked the whip. And in my opinion, he turned Märklin around, and under him Märklin showed profit for the first time in 20 years, and had and still continues to have a profitable run. They're making money, and they're making what I consider quality trains, specifically the locomotives. And I give Florian Siebert a lot of the credit for that, for his hands-on direct approach as a young, aggressive campaigner. And in my opinion, he turned Märklin around, maybe even saved Märklin. But be that as it may, it's a great little runner. But it is an older model, so with older models, ones that have been sitting, it's the same thing with a car. You go to a dealership and they've got a car that's 5, 6, 7 years old, and it's been sitting on the lot all this time, and they never got rid of it, and maybe they occasionally start it up. It's going to have potential problems, and you really need to check it out, and you really need to, all new oil, all new fluids. So I did that with this one. I followed the prescribed formula for how to lubricate things, just made sure it was clean, and it was very clean inside. It showed no signs of really having been run, but it also didn't have any gummed up oil on it either. But it did squeak for a couple of laps, and then it slowly ran smoothly with the little bit of oil I applied. So very happy with it. But again, time is the only judge of quality. Things can be nice out of the box, and 6 months later they're running like crap. But for now, it's something I wanted. It's running well. Now, I haven't had it pulling anything yet. We'll give that a shot in a bit. So, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at my new Class 218 in ocean blue and beige coloring. So, until my next video, which will be very soon as we look at that ESU 220, I want to say, Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains. Take care, everybody.